right, first TBR of the year, and I haven't posted a goals video or anything yet because I'm still figuring out my goals. I'm still analyzing the previous year and figuring out what worked, what didn't work. My instincts are things aren't completely broken, so I'm not like overhauling systems such as monthly TBRs. So my monthly TBR is going to be normal. It's going to have like 8 things on it. Because I think last year, with my teaching load, I was about to read 8 to 10 things a month. And I think that's going to continue. Maybe become a little less sometimes, maybe become a little more sometimes. It depends on the book. And if you hear a little cat yelling, that's because Kieran is 2 doors away from me, Ryan is not home, and he is a drama llama. Like, absolutely. So yeah, I showed you guys the 20 books I want to read in 2025 video. So I've already added to, well, I haven't added to it, but I've added to my physical TBR at least 2 books, if not more, because I'm going shopping with my mom tomorrow. So like, we are going to a bookstore. Duh. But I usually only get like a handful of books when I go to a bookstore. Now, that means though, to read 20 books in a year, I should try and read 1 or 2 of them a month. So I do have 2 books for my physical TBR. I have my Patreon buddy reads. I have some series plans that have been percolating. And I think I have a good range of things. Because I do know that I myself just always feel better when I can hop between book lengths and genres and media types. Like, it makes things feel fresh. It makes the momentum feel like it's going. And so I crafted this TBR with that in mind, with the assumption that I will go rogue, as I do. Who's to say? I'm not a mood reader because I don't ever know my mood. And once I start a book, I typically finish. So I guess I can power through when things aren't my mood. Let's start with my physical TBR books. The first one is a very new book. It is a new release from actually, both of these are new releases from last year that I haven't read yet. This one is, I think, the horror thriller book of last year. Everyone's been loving it. I think it's a debut. It's We Used to Live Here. Look at that snow. Look at it. I think the author's Canadian. I'm ready. Yeah, he's from Vancouver, Canada. I am ready for this. I would honestly probably be reading this right now because I I wanted one more book to read this year because as I'm filming this, there's like a day or 2 left. This isn't that long, but I'm home alone right now. Not when you're seeing this video, Ryan will be back by then. But it felt like reading a potentially like Parasite Get Out home book while home alone would be bad. Like, that would be a not okay idea. But I do really want to read this. I remember I read a horror book last winter and had a great time. So yeah, and obviously, like, my favorite books of this year were dark fiction and horror, so why wouldn't I lean into that? I know nothing about this other than everybody's been loving it. Like, everybody. Everyone's like, this is one of my favorite reads of last year, or, oh my god, I love that book, I can't wait for your thoughts. Like, these are the comments I get on this. So please, let it meet the hype. I paid full price for this. Well, I didn't pay full price for this. Ryan paid full price for this for my birthday. And yeah, I'm excited. And I also just love how the book feels. I think it's just a white dust jacket. I don't even think it's that exciting. Yeah, no. But, like, it's got that weird texture dust jacket that for some reason, my little brain, it loves. So, yeah, more to come when I do get to this. The other one has been on many a TBR, and I hadn't gotten to it yet because it took me longer to read a much denser science fiction than I planned, and this is also at least a more thoughtful science fiction, and that is Usurpation, which I keep saying usurpation, and it's Usurpation, by Sue Burke. It's the 3rd book in the Symbiosis series. And I think this is where the planet we traveled to in the first book talks back to Earth, which feels very full circle because the first book is just when we get to the new planet and we live there for a few generations. The second book is when people from Earth come to the planet after it's been established, and what does that do? And so to have this planet and its culture go to Earth feels full circle. We'll see if I'm actually remotely correct about that. But yeah, 2 physical books off my physical TBR that I am excited to read, so yay, prioritization. And then I have 2 buddy reads with my Patreon this January. We do every quarter 1 buddy read of like a standalone book. We do a series read along for the whole year that we like check in every quarter. And then I throw in some short story collections. And sometimes impromptu buddy reads happen. We did 2 polls for this Patreon buddy read, and both of them ended up in ties. The first one was a tie for all 4 books because I have impeccable taste in making polls, or we just all have very similar taste and are excited about the same thing. You can decide. And then I did a second poll, narrowing it down, like not allowing multiple voting options, and we still had like a tie. So I put both on because they're also very different, so people can pick and choose if they want to do one or both. I think I'll do both because they both interest me for different reasons and have been on my radar for a long time. One is a sci-fi release from last year that I have been really curious about this author in general, and this is Exordia. I think we're going to be focusing on people attempting to problem solve because Earth is in dire straits. I really kind of like that premise. I like it a lot when it's in books. Some of my favorite parts of science fiction and fantasy books are people in a room planning, especially if they're mildly competent. I don't know if competence exists in this book. But I also figured this could be a good taste test of this author's writing because I did put his series, I forget what it's called, the Masquerade series. It starts with I don't know, I'll put the image here. It has a mask on it. It's an unfinished series as of now, but I think it should be finished with the next book whenever it publishes, potentially. But I thought this would be a good taste test. I think it's a standalone. A lot of people I know who have read Exordia have really enjoyed it. And someone was talking about it in the Discord and like having a great time. So I'm excited that it got voted on. So, because I think it's also just one of those science fiction that's going to pair really well with discussion. And I would like to keep the year of science fiction going because that was very fun. But also I have a new fantasy. I didn't read as much new fantasy last year. So I'm trying to make sure I keep peppering in new fantasy. I'm not rereading the Cosmere anymore, right? You know, like put in some new fantasy. That said, 2 of my TBR are rereads, but whatever, we're ignoring that for now. This is The Monsters We Defy, which may or may not have a sequel. I cannot remember. I think I know that this book reads as a standalone regardless. I think it's a mystery. I think it's early 20th century historical fantasy. And I hear it is criminally underrated. These are the things I know about it. I know the author has another book. I just can't remember if they have 2 other books or if the one other book is related to this at all. But it's something that I really want to read. I've been wanting to for a while because a lot of my friends just really like it. And I just want to see, will I really like it? It's one of those things where not many people talk about it. But the people who do champion it are obsessed, love it, find a lot of joy. I'm great with joy, would love more. And I think when done right, I like a historical fantasy. I don't mind modern fantasies. I'm reading a contemporary fantasy right now, and I love it. So we'll see. Next up, like I said, so this is my reread. And that's because I want to continue the series. And this is Theft of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan. I'm also even playing The Witcher right now. Last time I started this book and it made me play The Witcher, and now I'm playing The Witcher. And I want to read this book because they're both similar settings fantasy. At least the vibes, they overlap for me. We follow these 2 men, Adrian and Royce, is that their names? You meet them like in the middle of their friendship. Like, so they have already formed this bond. They have their crew. They're accomplishing tasks. And I think Theft of Swords is like 2 books put together. I didn't mind it my first read. I just wasn't really in a headspace where reading was bringing me much joy at all. I listened to it while unpacking in my new home, and I was just really exhausted. So I would like to give it like a fresh try. And I didn't mind the audiobooks, but I think I preferred physically reading it, so I'm going to play around with that as well. And next one, oh, I'm really excited about this. This is another book that I almost read, like right now. And this is Falling Free. This is a Vorkosigan book. I think this is the 4th published, and chronologically is the earliest. It's like hundreds of years before Shards of Honor, which is the first book I recommend people start with. But it's recommended to read it before the next Vorkosigan book, which is Diplomatic Immunity. So here I am. I read 3 Vorkosigan things in December. This was almost my 4th. I am getting to obsession point. Like, I love this series a lot. If you are new here, hi, I love the Vorkosigan Saga by Bujold. It's amazing. If you want to give it a try, start with Shards of Honor. One day I will have a video dedicated to this. Today is not that day. So yeah, I have no idea what it's about. It's not characters we followed before, but it is the world. I love Bujold's writing. Like, in Vorkosigan, there's a book, Ethan of Athos, that also doesn't follow any of our characters, and I still loved that one. So in general, although one of the things I do love is my connection to her characters, in general, she just has a very strong storytelling style and voice. And my neighbor has a car. When I say that his driveway is 500 feet from the stop sign, I'm really not kidding. But it brings him joy, so I try to ignore it. But anyways, I am incredibly excited to read it because Bujold she works for me. She works for me so well. And in a similar lane to Bujold, because Bujold reminds me of my love for Kingfisher. And I like romance-adjacent things. And so I don't have a romance on this list. So I'm going to try Paladin's Grace. This is continuing on in the world of the White Rat. I read the first 3 in that world universe last year. And everyone's like, you need to read this. I need to know your thoughts on this. And I'm hoping it has all the stuff I love and less of the stuff that I've been a little on in terms of like the third act breakup and how she does it. We'll see. I still really love them. Like even my like most disappointing Kingfishers are like 3.5 to 4 stars. So like, yeah, but I've just been, excited to get back into her work. I mean, probably by the end of this year, if I'm like diligent, I could easily be caught up with all the fantasy. I have not delved into the horror yet, but I shall. I'm not like scared of it. There's just so many riches, especially for someone like me who likes short stories and she has like 2 or 3 short story collections. Yeah. And then the last one, and this is not a commitment to finish this book in this month. This is me trying to figure out a way to read this series that I find fun and engaging and palatable. So we're talking Malazan, and they're just really dense. And they take a lot of brain power and focus for me to read them the way that is the most fun for me. Reading it as just a surface level and missing a bunch of stuff isn't very fun, and it's still a fair amount of work. But when I can put in that extra 50% work and actually like follow along with stuff and take notes and make content that I like with it, it's more fun, but it all takes energy. And there is no right time to read Malazan. Like, I guess there are wrong times when my mental health is like absolute trash or when things are super busy, like I'm moving. But like in terms of like the average day-to-day life, I'm always busy. I always have a lot that I'm juggling. I'm always going to feel tired. So how do I accomplish rereading this series that I do find has enough in it for me to want to continue? This is not Wheel of Time syndrome. This is not when I was forcing myself to read Wheel of Time and it was just never the series for me. This is a series where I think it's a solid 4-star series that I want to see the entire scope of. So what I think I might do, especially for like the later books, this is the first book that's the shortest and it's split into like multiple parts, whereas the other ones are split almost always into like 4 parts and are like really long. I'm going to try and like each month be like, okay, you're going to read, just like a third of it this month. So in this case, I think I'm going to try and read the first 3 books of it in January and then the other 3 books in February. And even allow that to expand out. Like basically a Malazan book a quarter. And allowing that to stretch out, but don't let it be like I keep putting it down and not picking it up. And hopefully that'll allow me to have space to like think about what I'm reading and write down notes and decide, do I want to make a video discussing this thing? Because if I don't schedule in that intention, it won't happen. And I just won't do anything because I do err on the side of just not doing stuff that stresses me out with my hobby, which I think is very fair, but I'm trying to figure out a way or a habit that will work for this. And I don't know if this will be the right one, but we're going to give it a go. And that's the January TBR. I'm really excited. I've been feeling a little refreshed and rejuvenated this break, which is good. I feel like a lot of the things that were plaguing me last year, I'm going to get new things because that's how New Year's work. But I'm in a better place. I'm in a much better head place. The physical body is sort of healing. It is what it is. All right, let me know what you're reading. Let me know about any of the books that I've mentioned that you're excited for me to read, or you think, oh, Angela, run away from that book. I don't think it's for you. And if you just want to leave an emoji to let me know you're here, as I stare at things. Sword for Theft of Swords, and otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.